Okay, so my lesson plan is called Science Learning in Mangrove Planting Exercise. My name's Gail Woon. I run an NGO, environmental education NGO called EARTHCARE in Freeport, Bahamas. The goals for this lesson plan is understanding the importance of mangroves with regard to climate change and also enhancing science literacy. The background, most of our Earth Care Eco kids are of high school age. We do have some adults who come to our activities and one or two younger students. We have 15 students. This lesson will be taught outdoors at our garden, community garden that the kids have been building since August, and that's in an urban setting. The field trip to immediately follow will be in a rural coastal wetland. Learning outcomes, students will understand the relationships between healthy mangrove forests and climate change. Students will use the scientific method to measure mangrove growth and also the success rate of the mangrove planting. Team members will practice place-based learning. Next slide. Wait, no, you're on the right slide. Sorry, can you go back? Sorry. Assessments. Before the students are broken up into teams, the class will be given a quiz so that the teacher will know the level of understanding the students possess before the lesson. After the exercise has been completed, another quiz will be given to the students. In this way, we will be able to see if the learning outcomes have been achieved or not. Vocabulary the students will have to learn are several. Red mangrove, Rhizophora mangle, the red mangrove, is distributed in estuarine ecosystems throughout the tropics. The viviparous seeds, called propagules, become fully mature plants before dropping off the parent tree. These are dispersed by water until eventually embedding in the shallows. Climate change describes a change in the average conditions, such as temperature and rainfall, in a region over a long period of time. Marine nursery. Mangroves serve as important marine nurseries for young fish, crustaceans, mollusks, and invertebrates. They're the first home for many of our economically important breadbasket fisheries products, such as fish, finfish, lobster, crab, conch, etc. They'll also need to learn about sedimentation, the process of settling or being deposited as a sediment, and prop roots, which were in the previous slide in the gentleman's hand. That's the root that descend. No, that's not the prop root. The prop roots are in this photo here. You can see one of the guys had got his hands on them. That's a root that descends externally from a plant stem to the ground, helping to support the stem as on a mangrove, as well as that's the part of the plant that builds land. Drawdown, which is a very important part of our lesson, that's the point in the future when levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere stop climbing and start to steadily decline, thereby stopping catastrophic climate change. And mangroves are an important carbon sink. A carbon sink is any reservoir, natural or otherwise, that accumulates and stores some carbon containing chemical compound for a definite and indefinite period, and thereby lowers the concentration of CO2 from the atmosphere. They'll also learn about ecosystems, which are a community of living organisms in conjunction with non-living components of their environment, interacting as a system. They'll also need to know about greenhouse gases, those that absorb and emit infrared radiation in the wavelength range emitted by Earth. Carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, and ozone are trace gases that account for almost 0.1% of Earth's atmosphere and have an appreciable greenhouse effect. So my students must have the prior knowledge. They'll need to have an understanding of the importance of healthy environments. They also should be willing to get muddy. Students might not know how important the wetlands and the mangrove stands are. So the point of the lesson is to instill upon them the importance of the mangroves to climate change and drawdown. So our lesson procedure, 9:00 in the morning, we meet on Saturdays. So from 9 to 9:15, the students will be given a quiz to find out how much knowledge they have on the topic. 9:15 to 9:30, the teacher gives a brief overview of mangrove ecology, Mangrove stands used to be thought of as useless wastelands. However, now scientific research has revealed that mangroves are among the most important ecosystems on this planet. Mangroves have specially adapted aerial and filtering roots and salt excreting leaves, which enable them to occupy the saline wetlands where other plant life cannot survive. Mangroves serve as important marine nurseries for young fish, crustaceans, mollusks, and invertebrates. They're the first home to many of our economically important breadbasket fisheries products fish, lobster, crab, conch. Mangroves also protect our islands from the destructive effects of storm surge and hurricanes. Also, they build land. Their prop roots spread out and catch the sediment that the currents wash in and build land by catching the sediment in the roots of the mangrove plants, thereby increasing the land mass. In addition, salt marshes, mangroves, and seagrass beds absorb large quantities of the greenhouse gas carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store it, in turn decreasing the effects of global warming and climate change. From 9:30 to 9:45 a.m., students will be divided into three-person teams. Each team will be given a number of mangrove propagules. The propagules will be measured. One team member will be designated the recorder of data. 9:45 to 10 a.m. teams will be transported to the mangrove planting area. 10 to 10:30 teams will prepare to get muddy. Each team will find an area in the wetland area to plant their propagules. Students will photo document the project step by step. Propagules will be measured the amount above the surface. Teams will rinse off and get back to the transport vehicles. 10:30 to 10:45 transport time back to our garden. 11 to 11:15 teams will give brief reports on their experience and the expected outcomes. Then we'll wait a month and we will go back out to the site. So a month later, 9 to 9:15 teams will be transported back to the planting site. 9:15 to 9:30 teams will photo document their site. They'll measure the growth or lack of growth and record the data. 9:30 to 10 teams will tour the rest of the wetland and point out to the teacher the important notable aspects of the mangrove wetland. Post quiz will be given at this time. 10 to 10:15 we transport back to our garden, and the materials and technology needed for this lesson plan are a PowerPoint presentation on mangroves, rulers for measuring, cameras, and note-taking materials. And that's the end of the lesson plan.
Great. Thank you so much, Gail. And let's see any questions from our audience. This is a very cool. So this is a 1 month project. Students got to measure before and after. And you mentioned about you do a post quiz. So what is this quiz about?
Basically, it's the same quiz as at the beginning, just to ascertain if the children learned what we were trying to teach them. So in the first quiz, we'll have all of the vocabulary and that. So we'll understand if the students have any idea of what we're talking about before we start. And then afterwards, hopefully they'll get more right than they did on the first quiz. And also, because we are an ongoing program throughout the year, we will be able to continue and let them continue monitoring the mangroves. So I said 1 month just for our illustration purposes, but we'll probably be able to go out every month of the year and they will be able to see them grow.
I see. And in addition to the quiz, so the quiz is, are you trying to measure knowledge? And
go ahead.
In addition to knowledge, what other outcomes are you looking for and how?
We also want to find out if the students are getting an appreciation of why we do the exercises we do, rather than just them to think it's material they have to learn and come spew back out like facts and figures. We want to make sure that they're actually connecting the importance of the mangroves to climate change and learning the concept of drawdown, and hopefully that they will get so good at it they'll be able to tell their peers and then maybe recruit their peers to come into the program as well.
That's very cool. And we have a question in the chat from Bridget. Are there any environmental standards you follow?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Are there any environmental standards you follow?
Well, I don't think our country has, we have educational standards, but I don't think we have specific standards for environmental education, because environmental education is relatively new to the curriculum.
Mhm.
So I've just been going by my own standards. I don't have any specific ones that I can follow that are designated by our school system.
All right. And thank you so much, Gail. There are some other questions in the chat. I hope you can answer them in the chat. And
Sure.
I also want to mention we are in China, the east side, the coast. We also have mangroves, and we have some also organizations doing the mangrove related education. It will be great to let's see if we can connect you with our colleagues in China. It's
I've already connected with two groups. We had them with us last summer. They came from China,
oh, okay.
River Keepers, and I can't pronounce their name, but I can send it to you. I
Okay.
have a video of us, a drone video of us planting mangroves. There's two environmental groups from China, and they came and stayed with us for a week, and we did a mangrove planting together with my group and two other environmental groups. So it was really, really amazing. If I can find the link, I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
But
That will
yeah,
be great.
in fact, we got written up in Chinese newspaper. If you go on our EarthCare online in our archive, you can link to the Chinese news paper article.
I would love to see that. Thank you so much, Gail.
Okay, I'll add those in the chat.